As we entered our 60s, we wanted to become homeless and unemployed on purpose. So we quit our jobs, sold our house and everything in it that didn't fit into a carry-on and a personal item for each of us. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but here's the thing. We weren't throwing a life away. We were swapping the life so many other folks told us that we wanted for the one that we actually wanted.
And this is not a guide telling you how we did everything perfectly. Far from it. This is the real deal. The mistakes, the messes, all of it. And also really how we got started with this had to do with, first of all, getting into the right mindset. That was huge. The next thing was doing a good Swedish death cleaning and really getting rid of everything. And spoiler alert, that also meant getting rid of the house. And the third thing was starting to get organized with getting the right credit cards with travel points so that we could use those points to pay for our hotels and our flight tickets. So basically, what we did was we put all of those 3 steps together. It took us roughly 2 years of planning, and that was it. That's how we got started. And the videos that we're going to be presenting here are going to be all about every step that it took to make that come to fruition.
Yeah, but today we want to talk to you about those first 3 steps because we think they're so important for you to have a place to begin. We want to give you some actionable information, and we're going to start with what we think is probably the critical thing that has to be right for you to succeed as a nomad full-time traveling retirees, and that is getting your mindset right. Now, you don't have to have the mindset immediately, but you need to get the mindset right before you get anything else going to be able to get through the whole process. So for us, we certainly didn't have it all right. And I think there's 3 key components to having that right mindset. One, if you're going to be traveling with someone else, you and that someone else have got to be on the same page before you set on your journeys. So you got to do whatever is necessary to get to the same spot. And then second along the way, you want to be financially secure. And what I mean by that is you don't necessarily have to be rich. In fact, you don't have to be rich to live this life. But you do have to be confident that you have adequate resources to live the life. And the third part is you really have to shift your mindset to one that is about consumption, at least in our case was about consumption, to living minimally, the minimalist lifestyle. So those are the 3 major components to the mindset. But let's talk just to give you a little better idea of what was involved for us as we tried to get on that same page, because it didn't happen quickly. It probably took I would say at least 6 months. First, my starting to research, but before that was literally years of Deb, explaining what she wanted and what she wanted to see us change.
Yeah, I think that's in some ways the most important part is what we wanted to see change. And I would say that's true. It did really start with me being, it's kind of hard to explain, but having a sense of like, this isn't right, if that makes sense. And I think that for both of us, yeah, I mean, we've worked hard for decades, which I think is understandable. I mean, no one's going to put your own food on the table. Of course we had to work. But there comes a point when is enough enough? And when you get into your 60s, it's very different from being in your 20s, for one thing. And also, I have strong roots in Europe, and I started to feel like maybe I'd like to be back there. The thing is, Greg didn't. So we were starting out in 2 different places, but eventually we kind of kept doing certain amounts of homework and migrating toward the concept of, well, maybe we don't have to actually set up residency somewhere else, but we could be somewhere else. And that was really how this started to happen. And also, I think it had to do with Greg watching videos about something similar, which kept migrating him toward this. And when we started to talk about it, we realized it would be something that both of us would be excited about.
Yeah, Deb had said for many years how she wanted to, basically buy a place in Europe and move there. And for me, that I registered that as meaning I would have to retire and move to Europe, and frankly, wasn't ready to do that for a lot of different reasons. But I did, have interest enough to start looking at it, and what I found was an alternative, and it kind of came in pieces. One of the important pieces was realizing just how affordable a full-time slow travel nomad lifestyle could be. And then once I saw that the affordability of that, I was able to look at our financial situation and say, hey, we really could comfortably live this lifestyle. And that then really got the ball rolling. It said we should be prepared for this to actually happen. And as it did, it then kicked in the next big piece of the puzzle mindset wise. As we had our financial security about the plan, but the next thing was we had to stop thinking about consumption. Everything we were doing, we were working so hard. There was always to have a big house, to have a nice car, to have a computer, to have, clothes, to have all the fancy things in life. And it really meant we needed to stop thinking that way.
I think it was good that we did have an opportunity to kind of live the big lifestyle and buy a big house back in the days when there were lots of foreclosures and we could buy it and fix it up and have this Hollywood home to live in. I think we kind of had to go through it to realize that it was great at the time until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, it first of all felt like a great idea to downsize and simplify our lives. And the more we were thinking about simplifying our lives, the more we wanted to start to really do a complete 180-degree turn from where we were years earlier and start just getting rid of everything and realizing how liberating that really was.
Yeah, there's a lot more to mindset than this, but certainly these are we think are the three most important things to get right from the start. You and your partner need to be on the same page. Eventually, you got to get there. You have to be financially confident that you're doing the right thing, and you definitely cannot have a consumption mindset anymore. So get those three things right, and you're on your way with the right mindset. And that last piece about the consumption leads us to the second step, which is what we talk about is the Swedish death cleaning stage. And in terms of starting early, we think that it's important that you start your Swedish death cleaning early. And Swedish death cleaning, it's a sense of getting rid of your possessions, essentially, so that you're not leaving your loved ones with the task of cleaning up after you're gone. It's not a one-time thing. It's not a, clean out the house over a spring organizing thing. It's definitely intended to be a process. So you want to start that early. And as I say, it really naturally comes from having that mindset of we want to give away everything we have.
Yeah, the reason that this is a step that comes so early is it's practically everybody by this point, at least in the US of A, who has become a pack rat. Let's be honest. We've all been brought up to feel like if you don't keep that gizmo in its original condition and keep the packaging it came in and keep the receipt it came in, and the next thing you know, all of your closets, all of your cupboards, it doesn't matter how many cabinets you have, how many closets you have, how much storage you have in your fancy 3-car garage, everything will be full. And when you first start to think about emptying all of that out, it becomes an insurmountable problem. So you really do have to address this from the very beginning because it's going to be a big, daunting process. And it really connects with the mindset because you have to really be past that point of feeling like I can't part with this and I can't, leave this. And oh my God, I spent $100 on this. I can't just throw it away or give it away or sell it. You really have to come to the point of realization that not only yes, you can, but yes, you can. And it's not going to make you feel upset. It's really going to make you feel better. So it is a very important first step.
Yeah. So as we mentioned at the beginning of this video, our intent here is to put together a series of videos that give you the full picture of all the things to do in the planning. And we're just trying to give you pieces of this. But the Swedish Death Cleaning portion is a big part that we know a lot of people struggle with. And if you'd like to know more about that already, Deb just did a video, so you can check that out too to get some more details about Swedish Death Cleaning and the benefits of doing it. But so suffice it to say, while it did take a long time, no, we definitely found it to be a very liberating experience.
It was positive on just so many levels. It was actually really nice to sell things at bargain prices. And honestly, even if they were strangers, if they were friends, if they were people who were strangers who began to become our friends, it was so cool to see people's faces light up and say, I can't believe you're selling this at this price. I've always wanted one. I never could have bought it in the store. This is amazing. What else have you got? I'll come back with a truck. And being enthusiastic about the things that they were getting and thanking us, and us being able to tell them, look, we're happy these things are going to someone who's going to be enjoying them this much. It was all positive.
Yeah, you're going to find that if you've gotten that mind shift down away from consumption, and you're actually now taking the first kind of tangible step towards this plan of cleaning out the house, cleaning everything out, you're going to find, one, it's a lot easier to go through that process because you've already got the right mindset. But the other thing that you're going to do is, you're going to, at least we did, it completely changed the way we thought about shopping. Everything from what we bought for our groceries to our, house cleaning supplies, to the cars that we drove, you name it, everything we did, all our decisions were changed because we started thinking about, how do we get rid of it? How are we going to eliminate this item from our lives? So it really makes a huge, huge difference. And it's the kind of, like I said, the first tangible step that you might be taking as you get ready to live as nomads. So that's going to bring us to the next point along the line that we think that would help. And in our case, we told you we'd tell you about our mistakes. This was definitely one of them. We wish we had started this earlier. And that was learning how and actually starting to play the credit card game. The credit card game is we call it a game, and actually if you do your internet research, you'll see a ton of information about it, and it's actually referred oftentimes to as the credit card game. And what it is using credit cards to acquire points or miles that can then in turn be used to purchase lots of different things, but most significantly for us, are travel purchases like plane tickets and hotel rooms. Credit cards also come with important benefits. For example, benefits like lounge access, higher status for your hotel stays, whatever it may be. It's really an important thing to start. And the reason why you want to start so early is because it takes a kind of a scheduled process of acquiring the cards. And what you're trying to do is accumulate points. And you accumulate those points, one, through spends on the card. So the sooner you start realizing that, the sooner you're careful about using your credit card all the time so that you're acquiring those points. And the other piece of it is, and this is where we got our biggest chunk of points, is you can get sign-up bonuses for different credit cards. So, and the way you get those sign-up bonuses oftentimes depends on the specific order in which you acquire the card. And that's why I say you really need to think about, like if you're going to start this today, you want to start looking at, okay, between now and my projected time when I'm going to leave, let's say it's going to be a year or 2 years out, how many cards do I think I can acquire and be able to maximize those bonuses? So you actually have a specific strategy in place for that. Now, I would tell you the places to start is you're going to want to acquire a travel credit card. And more specifically, you want to acquire a travel credit card where the points that you get on that card can be transferred to partners, right? Now, we'll talk more in other videos about the nitty-gritty of that, but there are only about 3 or 4 bank family of credit cards that fit these categories. Probably the 3 most common ones would be Chase, American Express, and Capital One. There are some others. Citibank is another pretty popular one that I can think of off the top of my head. But Chase, American Express, and Capital One are the 3 big ones. So you probably want to look at them and make decisions about whether one of those categories is better for you than the others. Okay? And then once you decide within the category, you got to look at them for example, in all of them, that is in American Express, Chase, and Capital One, they all have multiple cards that you can get. But again, the order in which you get the card will determine how much of the bonuses you become eligible for. So it's really important that you get the right card at the right time. So start there, and then build up over time your credit card points. And the savings that you will get out of that are enormous. Now, Deb, you can maybe speak to that because I know she's done a little more careful accounting for us. But give some examples of how many nights we spent.
Well, I think, and by the way, I just want to mention, I think it's really clear when you listen to Greg, it's certainly clear when I listen to him that he did a huge amount of research, and he's really the credit card meister. And when he started out, I found this whole topic really daunting, and I just kind of felt like I was floundering trying to make sense out of all the different credit cards and the different points, and when you have to meet your spend limit to get the maximum benefit of each credit card. But if you just really, it's like anything else, if you start one thing at a time and you get that first credit card and you do what needs to be done, you'll find that it all starts to make more sense. And yes, to Greg's point, I don't have the numbers in front of me at the moment, but I did make a real science, especially last summer. Not this summer, because this summer is not over yet, but last summer we used our credit cards for so many of the nights that we stayed in hotels. I would say it was at least half of the nights that we spent in hotels using the points. And it was literally thousands of dollars that we didn't have to spend on hotel rooms. And remember, you're not actually buying those points in the first place. All you're doing is paying off all of your expenses in preparation for this fantastic change of life, and for doing it, working with the credit cards to get your maximum number of points. They all just come to you, and you really literally are not paying for those nights, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, you remember when we started, we first talked about the financial mindset and how important that was, that you're confident about your financial sustainability. One of the things that I should mention about the credit card game, it only works if you pay your credit card balance off every month, right? This is, it's why the credit card companies offer these benefits, is so they can entice you to spend more. Hopefully you can't pay it off. You then have to pay them interest, and then they start making a lot of money on you. Okay, so again, the credit card game works, but you got to pay your balance off every month to do it.
Which is better for you anyway, because every time you don't pay your credit card, you're paying more money. So it is to your benefit to always make sure that your card is paid off. Don't pay any interest, don't pay any additional fees, and you get your points.
Yeah. So these are kind of summarized for you. The 3 things that we think you start with in the process of becoming full-time traveling nomads. Make sure that you and your partner are on the same page in terms of mindset, that you've looked at and feel comfortable and confident in the financial stability, sustainability of your plan, that you're no longer obsessed with consumption as we were. Those are the first three pillars of your right mindset. And then as soon as you've got a handle on that, you're going to want to begin the Swedish death cleaning process so that you can rid yourself of all those belongings, so that you can give yourself the kind of freedom that you get when those belongings are gone. And then the other piece of the puzzle to begin putting together is the credit card game. So if you get those three things together, you're
You're on your way.